Hi everyone. So if you watched my intro, I said that I was going to be continuing to read the book Wonder. If you have not already read this book, you absolutely need to because it is such a good book. My students, if you're watching this or just in general, my students have been loving this book and we've gotten super into it and had some really in-depth conversations and been able to connect with the main character, Augie, throughout the entire book so far, which has been really cool to have conversations in the classroom about this. And it's a huge thing about kindness as well, which I'm all about, as my kids will tell you. Everything is about kindness in my classroom, kind of to a point of annoyance, but it's okay. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to start the book over just because it's going to take too long, but if you would like to read it on your own and then just kind of catch up with us, we're on page 100. We are in the section of Via's point of view, who is Augie's sister. For my kids at home, the last thing that we were reading about was when Via was witnessing her mom stand outside Augie's room, and a lot of my kids were saying that it was like creepy that the mom was doing that. But the last part of that chapter was saying, I wonder how many nights she stood outside his door, and I wonder if she's ever stood outside my door like that. So at this part in the book, we're really getting to hear Via's point of view and how Via feels about Augie and the whole Augie situation, and you can come up with an idea for yourself about how you think that Via feels about all of this. But I'm on page 100. The chapter is Breakfast. Can you pick me up from school today? I said the next morning, smearing some cream cheese on my bagel. Mom was making August's lunch, American cheese on whole wheat bread, soft enough for Augie to eat, while August sat eating oatmeal at the table. Dad was getting ready to go to work. Now that I was in high school, the new school routine was going to be that Dad and I would take the subway together in the morning, which meant his having to leave 15 minutes earlier than usual. Then I'd get off at my stop and he'd keep going. And Mom was going to pick me up after school in the car. I was going to call Miranda's mother to see if she could drive you home again, Mom answered. No, Mom, I said quickly. You pick me up, or I'll just take the subway. You know, I don't want you to take the subway by yourself yet, she answered. Mom, I'm 15. Everybody my age takes the subway by themselves. She can take the subway home, said Dad from the other room, adjusting his tie as he stepped into the kitchen. Why can't Miranda's mother just pick her up again? Mom argued with him. She's old enough to take the subway by herself, Dad insisted. Mom looked at both of us. Is something going on? She didn't address her question to either of us in particular. You would know if you had come back to check on me, I said spitefully, like you said you would. Oh God, Via, said Mom, remembering now how she had completely ditched me last night. She put down the knife she was using to cut Augie's grapes in half. Still a choking hazard for him because of the size of his palate. I am so sorry. I fell asleep in Augie's room. By the time I woke up, I know, I nodded indifferently. Mom came over, put her hands on my cheeks, and lifted my face to look at her. I'm really, really sorry, she whispered. I could tell she was. It's okay, I said. Via? Mom, it's fine. This time, I meant it. She looked so genuinely sorry, I just wanted to let her off the hook. She kissed and hugged me, then returned to the grapes. So, is something going on with Miranda? She asked. Just that she's acting like a complete jerk, I said. Miranda's not a jerk, Augie quickly chimed in. She can be, I yelled. Believe me. Okay then, I'll pick you up, no problem. Mom said decisively, sweeping the half grapes into a snack bag with the side of her knife. That was the plan all along anyway. I'll pick Augie up from school in the car, and then we'll pick you up. We'll probably get there at about 3:45. No, I said firmly before she'd even finished. Isabel, she can take the subway, said Dad impatiently. She's a big girl now. She's reading War and Peace for crying out loud. What does War and Peace have to do with anything? Answered Mom, clearly annoyed. It means you don't have to pick her up in the car like she's a little girl, he said sternly. Via, are you ready? Get your bag and let's go. I'm ready, I said, pulling on my backpack. Bye, Mom. Bye, Augie. I kissed them both quickly and headed toward the door. "Do you even have a Metro card?" Mom said after me. "Of course she has a Metro card," answered Dad, fully exasperated. "Yeesh, Mom, stop worrying so much. Bye," he said, kissing her on the cheek. "Bye, big boy," he said to August, kissing him on the top of his head. "I'm proud of you. Have a good day." "Bye, Daddy. You too." Dad and I jogged down the stoop stairs and headed down the block. "Call me after school before you get on the subway," Mom yelled at me from the window. I didn't even turn around, but waved my hand at her so she'd know I heard her. Dad did turn around, walking backwards for a few steps. "War and peace, Isabel," he called out, smiling as he pointed at me. War and peace. Alright, the next chapter is Genetics 101. Both sides of Dad's family were Jews from Russia and Poland. Papa's grandparents fled the pogroms and ended up in NYC at the turn of the century. Tata's parents fled the Nazis and ended up in Argentina in the 40s. Papa and Tata met at a dance on the Lower East Side while she was in town visiting a cousin. They got married, moved to Bayside, and had Dad and Uncle Ben. Mom's side of the family is from Brazil, except for her mother, my beautiful grands, and her dad, Augusto, who died before I was born. The rest of Mom's family, all her glamorous aunts, uncles, and cousins, still live in Alto Leblon, a ritzy suburb south of Rio. Grands and Augusto moved to Boston in the early 60s and had Mom and Aunt Kate, who's married to Uncle Porter. Mom and Dad met at Brown University and had been together ever since. Isabel and Nate, like two peas in a pod, they moved to New York right after college, had me a few years later, then moved to a brick townhouse in North River Heights, the hippie stroller capital of upper Manhattan, when I was about a year old. Not one person in the exotic mix of my family gene pool has ever shown any obvious signs of having what August has. I've pored over grainy sepia pictures of long dead relatives in babushkas, black and white snapshots of distant cousins in crisp white linen suits, soldiers in uniform, ladies with beehive hairdos, Polaroids of bell-bottom teenagers, and long-haired hippies, and not once have I been able to detect even the slightest trace of August's face in their faces. Not a one. But after August was born, my parents underwent genetic counseling. They were told that August had what seemed to be a previously unknown type of mandibulofacial dystosis caused by an autosomal recessive mutation in the TCOF1 gene, which is located on chromosome 5, complicated by hemifacial microsomia characteristic of OAV spectrum. So pretty much that's all really confusing and really complicated, and a bunch of big words that I wish I could describe to you what they mean, but pretty much it's just the doctor saying what August has and what's happening to August. Sometimes these mutations occur during pregnancy. Sometimes they're inherited from one parent carrying the dominant gene. Sometimes they're caused by the interaction of many genes, possibly in combination with environmental factors. This is called multifactorial inheritance. In August's case, the doctors were able to identify one of the single nucleotide deletion mutations that made war on his face. The weird thing is, though, you never know it from looking at them. Both my parents carry the mutant gene, and I carry it too. Okay, so that was really confusing because it's a lot of genetic terms that a typical person wouldn't necessarily know. So pretty much what this whole chapter is talking about was Via going through and trying to find old pictures of family members to see if anyone looked like August, but she couldn't find anything. So after August was born, her mom and dad went into what's called genetic counseling. So they went in to talk about what could have happened to August, why it happened, and everything like that. So then Via says at the end that you wouldn't know it by looking at her, her mom, or her dad, but they all carry the mutant gene. The mutant meaning like the gene that would make their faces look different. So her mother, and her father all have this mutant gene, but you would never know it. So August was the only one that shows it, if that makes sense. Okay, we're going to read one more chapter and then I'm going to pause and we will read the rest at a different point. All right, the next chapter is called The Punnett Square. If I have children, there's a 1 in 2 chance that I will pass on the defective gene to them. That doesn't mean they'll look like August, but they'll carry the gene that got double dosed in August and helped make him the way he is. If I marry someone who has the same defective gene, there's a 1 in 2 chance that our kids will carry the gene and look totally normal. A 1 in 4 chance that our kids will not carry the gene at all, and a 1 in 4 chance that our kids will look like August. If August has children with someone who doesn't have a trace of the gene, there's a 100% probability that their kids will inherit the gene, but a 0% chance that their kids will have a double dose of it, like August. Which means they'll carry the gene no matter what, but they could look totally normal. If he marries someone who has the gene, their kids will have the same odds as my kids. This only explains the part of August that's explainable. There's that other part of his genetic makeup that's not inherited, but just incredibly bad luck. Inherited means to be passed down. So she's saying that there's part of his genetic makeup, or the way that he is, that's not passed down from his parents, but it's just bad luck. Countless doctors have drawn little tic-tac-toe grids for my parents over the years to try to explain the genetic lottery to them. Geneticists use these Punnett squares to determine inheritance, recessive and dominant genes, probabilities, and chance. But for all they know, there's more they don't know. They use terms like germline mosaicism, chromosome rearrangement, or delayed mutation to explain why their science is not an exact science. I actually like how doctors talk. I like the sound of science. I like how words you don't understand explain things you can't understand. There are countless people under words like germline mosaicism, chromosome rearrangement, or delayed mutation. Countless babies who will never be born like mine. Okay, a confusing place to end, but we're going to end there. And the next time we read, I will read the next few chapters. So I don't have an assignment or a thinking point for those chapters. Some chapters I will have some type of assignment or a thinking question or some type of like drawing activity or something to go along with what we just read, but for those chapters, they were pretty confusing, so I'll let you just sit with them. Like I said, a lot of those words were just a bunch of very scientific, specific words that only people who are in that specific field of science would understand. Via's trying to make sense of them, but like she said in the end, she likes having those big science words. She likes hearing them because they explain something that can't be explained without them. So she's trying to figure out how to explain August and why he is the way he is, and these science words are helping her do that. So, all right, well, I will see you for when we read the next couple chapters, and yes, again, I miss you, and I will see you guys later.